Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Um, yeah, looking a bit tatty. Feeling tatty, but hanging in there, doing my thing. I wanted to do a Project Zoomie update. I've done some things to Zoomie um, since the last video was posted to him, and I wanted to apologise for my last video, which was just an update video. Because it was pretty poorly photographed, and it never occurred to me that the camera lens was actually dirty. I thought I had a light thing going on. As you can see, I solved the problem literally with a hanky. It ended up being a bit of dirt on the lens. I'm just looking for something over here. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. Project Zoomie. Now, a couple of things have happened to Zoomie since you guys last saw him on the channel, and it's really annoying the crap out of me. Let's start. I picked up some bad fuel. Let's start with that. Oh, my chair's doing some strange things. I've got all this warm stuff behind me. At the moment, I'm really hot, and in about 20 minutes, I'll be really cold, and I've got to throw blankets over me, and that's a side effect of the chemo. My temperature's just sort of, it has these weird hot flashes and cold flashes, and then my hands go all funny, and that's a side effect of the chemo that I'm going through. But we're just pressing on. We're just doing what we're doing. So, Project Zoomie. Let's get back onto it. Let's take this opportunity to say that anything I do and say in these videos, I do with zero responsibility whatsoever. If you do something, like if you're following along and doing something, you're doing it entirely at your own risk, right? So if you're not happy with that, just click me off and off you go. But otherwise, let's get into it. Right, Project Zoomie. Picked up some bad fuel. Really, it annoys the crap out of me that in a community like the Gold Coast in Queensland, you've got brand new garages which have been built like 30-40 days ago, and you pull in for some fuel and the fuel's contaminated, and there's garages around the place that have been there for 40 and 50 years, and they don't sell contaminated fuel, and they're known for good fuel, and they're actually known. You can pull in there and absolutely guarantee that the tanks, your tank of fuel is pure. It's I pulled into a new garage, picked up some fuel. It's the one my wife uses. Her car started playing up, and then the bike was playing up, and it was the fuel. And I did it out of convenience. We were on our way somewhere, and we passed her garage, which she uses Shell petrol. Well, exclusively, she's always used Shell petrol since I've known her, and she puts the best stuff in the car. Like the 98 octane stuff. She puts it in, and she doesn't do anything else with the car. She puts the fuel in. And her car started running rough and idling rough, and it was her garage. And they just 30 days prior to that, they just replaced the tanks. They put brand new tanks in that garage, and we got a whole batch of bad fuel out of it. Now, I don't understand that. I think if you put, and of course you go back to them and you say, look, here's the receipt. That's what I did. Here's my bike. Here's the repair bill. I took it up to Brad. Cost me $140 to get the fuel sorted. Right? You had to drain the tank. You had to flush everything out. You had to clean the carby. You had to pull everything off. It was a bill. It was $150, and he did it for $150. Which was cheap for me. Like he's looking after me. Now, went to the garage. I said, well, look, you need to show me the manager because this fuel was bad. This was bad. I've got it here. Look, here's a bottle. Here's a sample of fuel. You can clearly see there's a line of water on top of the fuel. And there was a quarter of an inch difference between the water and the fuel. And it all settled and separated because it had been sitting for so long. And I said to them, that's where I bought the thing. And they were like, no, not us. No, not us. Go away. It really annoys me. It's $150 that I didn't need to spend, because all I had to do was drive another 3 blocks and go to where I always put my fuel, which is the BP on Johnson Street. Always put my fuel there. Con, he's known for good fuel. He put new tanks in. His fuel, he changes his tanks out every 10 years. They put brand new Bowsers and tanks in every 10 years. They get them calibrated. They're known for good fuel. And I always go there, but it was convenient. Away we went, and her car was playing up. Her car was easily sorted with a bit of fuel additive, a bit of water in the line. Now, get this, Nissan Jukes don't have a fuel filter. Don't have an inline fuel filter. I rang the dealer. I said, mate, I'm looking for the fuel filter. I got bad fuel. I need to change. They said, mate, it's in the tank. I said, who puts a freaking fuel filter in the tank? Give me a break. Answer, I put the Wins STP, whatever that stuff is, fuel additive. Put a whole freaking thing of that in her tank, and it sorted her car. That it cleaned out whatever contamination was in there. So that was good. Didn't do it for Zoomie though, unfortunately. That never works because he's a 2-stroke. And, you contaminate the fuel, you've got to flush it. You've got no option. Anyway, first problem, sorted. $150 up at Brad's. Brad is the scooter guy. He's up on Bailey Crescent. If you want your bike sorted and you've got a scooter, you need parts, whatever you need, go see him because he's old school. He doesn't believe in the internet. He hasn't got an internet site. He's got a Gumtree thing going, but only when he wants to sell a bike or something. If you need a scooter, if you need parts for your scooter, if you need your scooter serviced, go see him because he's good and he's reliable. And if you screw him around, he'll tell you to bugger off. He'll pay your bill. Whatever bill he gives you, it's fair. Just pay it. Don't argue with it because he works hard, he does a good job, and he gives you a fair price. And you can't ask anything more of any service person ever. And he's always done that. And I've known him for 12 years. Going on 12 years I've known him. And I always take my bike there to get him. Well, since I've had Zoomie, I found him because I needed parts. He's a bike wrecker. So I found him because I needed parts. And he chased the part down. He found it in Sydney somewhere. He was chasing all over the world to get the part for me. He's got contacts everywhere. And he's been in the industry for as long as he's been, And what he doesn't know about scooters isn't worth knowing. He knows everything about everything. I'll put it on you there, fella. Brad, I'll put it on you. All right, so Brad's my bike mechanic, and when I need it sorted, like if I'm too crook, I'll just take it up and give him a bit of money. And at the moment, the local businesses are doing it tough, so giving Brad a bit of work was easy. It was a no-brainer. It's cost me $150 to sort the fuel out. So that's the fuel sorted. So I'm riding the bike around. I'm up to the docks every second Monday is the clinic before I get my keno. And I rode the bike up to the clinic. And Walt was parked in the hospital's motorbike parking lot. Some idiot's ridden into the side of the bike. They lost control of the motorcycle, whatever, whack, straight into the side of Zoomie. And I've come back to the bike. Instead of the mirrors being like this, I've got a mirror like this. And it's, I'm like, oh, okay, someone's hit the bike. And I checked the bike over, and the indicator's not working, and the mirror's bent, and because it's on the left-hand side, the throttle's on the right, so all the important stuff's on the right. The brake was still working, and everything else on that side, the controls, the horn, everything. The horn buzzer was hanging out of its thing. It was, down like that. I just popped it back in, and the horn still worked, so I was lucky there. But obviously they whacked the bike, and I thought, well, annoying, really annoying. You park your bike up, you parked it against a gutter, so you've got a gutter on one side, so no one can hit it on that side. And the only side they could hit it on, they hit it. And they probably whacked someone else's bike as well, because they've lost control, like they've got no business being on a motorcycle, probably. Anyway, I've come back and there's no, look, I'm sorry, I've whacked your bike, you know, like, give me a bill, I'll pay for the damage, nothing like that. They've just pissed off, you know. They don't care. The people just don't care. And I'm like, well, I love this little bike. It owes me nothing. Literally owes me nothing. I've had him, well, I bought him in a reverse auction and I got him cheap and I fixed him up and I've been riding him ever since. I rode him to uni for 6 years. Rode him to and from uni, and he owes me absolutely nothing. And to have that happen to him, it set my blood boiling. So anyway, I've got a mirror issue. I've got mirrors that go like this instead of like that. And then as you're driving, it's doing these ones, you know. And you're like, okay, we've got to get that sorted. So I got up there with a spanner and I just nipped it up so it wasn't doing these ones, but it still needed sorted. It needed to be undone because the thread was a little bit stripped out where it had forced it past its thread point. So it needed to be like thread follower on it and put a new nut on it, you know, literally. So, but there were a couple other things. The bike was still running a little bit rough, and the rear tyre went flat on me. The rear tyre went flat, and I thought, well, he's obviously given that a really good whack because it's either come off the bead or whatever. Anyway, it turns out he did more than pull the rear tyre off the bead. He's really gone down the side of the bike because he's whacked the rear tyre, pushed it off the bead, but he's also kind of bent the rim of the wheel. He's bent it a little bit. And he's got down to the front, and I didn't know it, but he's taken a chunk out of the front tyre. There's a little piece missing out of the sidewall of the tyre. And I didn't see that, and the front tyre was still up, so it obviously didn't go right through, but he seriously damaged the tyre. So anyway, what I noticed was the flat rear tyre, and literally the hospital's only like a few blocks away from where Brad is, so I got the bike round to Brad's. I actually put it on a tow truck, and this freaking Trayback, you know, with the thing comes down and come into the motorbike car park. The tray comes down, and all I saw is this little 50cc scare Zoomie. He's got the whole thing to himself. Anyway, the guy that car me, he actually lives here in the building. It's new. He's just taken off in his truck, but it's a recovery truck, you know, with the slide tray, the lift, you know, the recovery vehicle thing. And he's got this little 50cc. He's all strapped up. He's all nice, and he got him round to Brad's and got the tyre changed. And, you know, I ended up getting both the tyres done, and I got Brad to sort the mirror out and the controls and just make sure everything was cool. And we got everything sorted, but the indicator, because the indicator, I actually had repaired that, you know, to get it working. I priced it before. It's 50-something bucks out of Italy, and it's the only place you can get an indicator for him. And it's new old stock, and there's only like, you know, like the guy knows that he can charge 50 bucks for it for the lens bit, and then 50 bucks for the housing bit. So it's 100 odd bucks plus shipping. And I haven't got that kind of money to throw around. I was doing the tyres and the mirror and the thing. I just thought, well, I've got a 3D printer. I'll bloody 3D print something before I'll do that. Anyway, all long story short, the indicator didn't work. So I got a fast flashing left indicator at the rear and no front indicator. So basically turn left was the case, put your hand out all the way home. And what had happened, thankfully, he hadn't killed the lens or anything. All he'd done was he destroyed where I'd cable tied up the rear points for the lens. He'd actually knocked it, and the pin, instead of being upright, was over like that, so it wasn't making contact with the bulb. And it was a simple matter of straightening the pin. Not. Wasn't. It took me like an hour, and I've got footage, and I'll show you me fixing that. So hopefully I'll be able to cobble together me fixing up the indicators. But then I remembered that I had bought these indicator bizzos, these ones, on eBay for $5. And wonderfully they work. And they fit in the bulb holder. Right, these ones. So what I decided to do was change him out to LED from filament bulb. So I actually went down to see a mate of mine. I took Mrs. Wiley, I took Leonie on the back of the bike down to work. We took him for a good long ride, just to give the tyres a bit of a run-in and whatnot. And I was showing off that in a bargain bin, you can see there, I found that for $3.80, and check that out. It's got all those bits in it. I bought it because of the bits, because you're always snapping these little bastards. You know, they're always blunting and snapping and whatever they are. But for $3.80, I got all those. I thought that you know, in a bargain bin somewhere. I don't know where it was. And then I showed this little thing off. I got this on eBay. That's actually a camera, not a cigarette lighter. And I think I paid about $12 for it. It's a hidden camera. And you can leave it lying around. If someone's buggerising around with things, but you can get them. You know, you'll get a picture. And what I thought I could do was somehow mount that to Zoomie. And then if someone whacks him in the car park, I'll get a picture of him. Then I'll know who it was. And then I'll decide whether I lob them into the cops or what I'll do. Because I'm sick of people whacking in. This is now about the 5th time someone's whacked into my bike while it's been parked up. And it's all people that have got no business, like whether they're druggies or they're, you know, on drugs, or they're young blokes that just don't have a clue how to ride. You're in a car park, you don't need to even have your motor on. You can back your bike out, get it in where you're going, and then start up and take off, you know. If you can't control the bike, you shouldn't be on it. It's that simple. That fell off the keyring. Really pissed about that, because that's a great little tape measure and it's a handy one. I've had that forever. And it gets me out of trouble because it's got both metric and bloody imperial on it. It's got 1 metre. I can get it right out to the metre if I need to. But that's got me out of trouble heaps of times. And I have it on my keyring, but the little peg, it's a little plastic peg in there, is broken out. And I put a screw through it, but somehow the screw seems to have broken out, and now I need to get that sorted. That's just another thing that needs doing. Anyway, let's talk. I've given you this 20-minute long intro into Project Zoomie. I'm going to cobble together bits and pieces of footage I've got of me trying to fix up the indicators. And off camera, we tried out those bulbs and they wouldn't work in the indicator sockets. So what I might do is go shoot some more footage of trying to convert those indicators over. Now what I think's going on with it, the wiring is old, like it's 20-year-old wiring, or whatever. I think it's a 2002, so it's nearly 20. It's 18 years old wiring, and that wire is a loop. It runs all the way back to ground wherever the switching point is. It doesn't ground close to where the indicator is. And what I think's going on is the wiring's just gotten tired or worn or whatever, and we're not getting good current up in. We might have voltage, but no current. We've got a big current drop. So I'm thinking that we've got some resistance there in the wire, which turns it into a resistor. So it drops the current, and there's not enough power to light up the LEDs. So I'm going to put my amp clamp on the wire and just see what kind of current is going through it. I might just make it into a loop, so it's not even going, you know, through a bulb. But I want to know what kind of voltages and current I'm seeing there at the thing, and then I'll ground one of the pins and just see if that makes a difference. And if I can put a ground in and make it better, I should have enough power there to light up my indicators. And I'll do that on both sides of the handlebars, of course. You've got to be careful about ground points in old bikes. You don't want to put too much power through old wiring, because you'll burn something out. You really will. So it works with filament bulbs in it, but I don't know. I've always wanted upgrading to LEDs, and LEDs are the way to do things. They're more efficient. They don't blow when it gets wet. Like, you get a bit of water in them, they don't blow. The bikes, like, it gets a little bit of water up through the dashboard and whatnot, and the filament bulbs just blow every time a little bit of water gets past the seal. Bulb blows, and then you got less bulbs, and then you got to pull it all apart to get the bloody dash out. It's a mission. You got to pull half the bloody handlebar assembly apart just to get to the dash, and then you got to pull it out of the bike. And you got wires going in all directions. You got clips, and you got bloody screws, and you got to pull the mirrors off. You got to pull, there's so much you got to do just to get to your dashboard. Now, the other thing we did was the clock, which I did. I put it over here, and the other part in that statement is somewhere. Anyway, wherever I put the clock, I put it on the bike, and all the wiring that I gave, old mate wanted a job, so I gave him the job of putting the plugs on the wires. And of course, his work was so good that the plug fell off the wires. So I went to put it on, and then the plug fell off, and I thought, well, that's as far as that job got. So I've got footage of the plug falling off the wire too. So I'll see now if I can put some footage together of all of that, because there's a couple of hours of footage, and I'm just going to sift through what I've got that's relevant, and we'll go from there. That wasn't good. I just bumped the camera and the whole thing went off. Already got shock protection. So I've got a torch, bulbs, I've got the filament and LEDs, screwdriver kit. That's all we're going to need. I'm going to head down and fix Zoomie. I'm going to put my jumper on, my bike jacket. Got to put my shoes on. I've got socks, I've got my shoes. Got to get organised, and then we'll go down. I've swapped cameras. You can see the empty space. We got rid of the big kitchen table. I'm just working on a portable table at the moment. The new table is going to sit here in this area. It's about half the size of the table we had, and it's going to give us so much more space. We've got all this space here, and we can use. That's got to go, that couch. The only problem with this couch is it's got a little bit of wear in the arm. This is real Italian leather, and as such, it was made in Italy, this couch. Paid about $3,500 for it. Needs a clean. I don't know, but it's got to go because it's too big for here, and we've got 2 recliner chairs coming. So we got rid of the coffee table. Here's our makeshift little coffee table, a little bin with a bit of board on it. Everything's everywhere at the moment because we haven't got a decent coffee table. But we'll see what we can do. Now this battery's flashing at me, so it needs a charge. So I'm going to put the battery on charge, and then we're going to go downstairs. Okay, so we're recording. What I've done is I've borrowed my neighbour's ute tray as a camera stand. It's good the recorder's not working today. It's also a workbench, so I'll put my spanners out, or my screwdrivers out, and parts out, and luckily the lights are on down here, so I don't need the torch. So what we need for the job is a Phillips head screwdriver that fits those little screws. There's 2, there's one here, and then there's one inside. I just want to see that you can see what I'm looking at. I'm probably going to be standing in front of the job with the bike in that orientation. I'll put him side on to the job. Because it's only the left one we've got to get sorted in the hole. It's got new tyres and they don't want to drag. So I'll nearly come back in the shot and line up the shot for you. See where that lines up. I'll be working out in front of the bike. Now I can't see what you're looking at, so hopefully I've lined that up well enough and see what we get. Put my glasses on. It's good that I've got the bike jacket on because there's a hell of a breeze coming through here. It's going to take the lens cover off. And check the bulb first. That whole thing's just coming out of there. Oh, that's a different bulb too. It's not a standard automotive one. It's got the same base on it, but a different type of bulb. Let's just have a look at his back first. Going to bring this in for a look. Bit of extra light so you can see. Here's the bulb, and that bulb looks intact. Filament looks completely intact. Focus. I'm going to check the mounts at the back. You can see that one at the back there is slid off, and that's our problem. See how that slid to one side? That's our problem. You see it more clearly there. You can clearly see the back terminal. So what I'm going to do is slide that back over with my hand, attach the lead again, and see if we get a result. We won't even have to change a bulb. I repaired this once upon a time. A mozzie buzzing around. I don't want a mozzie. Go away. I'm going to pull that bulb anyway. I'm going to double check it real quick. There's nothing wrong with it. It's completely intact. This little bugger of a thing here, see how it's just off centre. Just pull it over a little bit with my finger. The bulb back in. Easier said than done. I'll go back in. I'll pull it out, I think. There you go. Plug the other one back on. Alright, we're all plugged on. Let's just see if we've got a bulb. Mozzie's back. Can't afford to get bitten by mozzies. No mozzies, no midgies, please. Got him. No, I've got nothing. No, I didn't think to bring the test light down. The problem might be up here. The wiring harness. Horn works, but the switch for the horn is popped. You got a circuit there. Yep, that's all it was. Let's go. Alright, we haven't got time to muck around with this today, so we're just going to put that back together. We're going to get on our way. Now these lens covers might not look very much. That lens cap is $50 if you break it. And you can't buy them. New old parts. So we don't break the lens caps. And just wind that back on very carefully. Put in. Just finger tight, that's all it needs to be. Job done. You're going to get on the bike and get going. And we'll change them out to LEDs another day. We'll keep that whole job together. When I get home from the doctors, we'll do the change out. Thanks for watching. Bye. Right, so what you saw there was getting that circuit repaired again. So what had happened, as I said, was the contact had slid across. So it should have been contacting the back of the bulb. It was like that, and all I did was slide it back up and got a good contact again, and the bulb was working fine. Now on that day I was a bit rushed for time. I would have changed those bulbs out then, the indicator bulbs, but off camera I ended up going somewhere the next day on the bike and took the bulbs with me, and I was at a mate's place, and we took the lens off again and tried to fit one of those LED bulbs in there, and of course it didn't work. It works fine on the bench. We've bench tested the bulbs, they're fine, but we've got our power supplies. So you see there, I've got a bench power supply, and when you give it 12 volts, they work fine. So he's got one as well, and you know I was at his place, so we just did it real quick, and we decided it was all too hard, and we needed to test for current, and it all just got too hard. I just said, look mate, let's just put it back, real easy on those lens covers, because you know the right one there. I know that Brad broke one, and he didn't tell me. He just replaced it, and he ordered the part for, because he had the bike for nearly a month and a bit, but I was crook anyway, so I didn't need the bike. And he ordered a lens cover. It cost him $56 to get the lens cover, and he just replaced it because he smashed it. He said, "Oh, the bike fell over while it was in my care. I just replaced the lens cover for you." And you know, he obviously took a bit of a bath because you know the job wasn't worth $50 to him. But he looked after me, you know. And this is the kind of guy he is. If he breaks something, he'll fix it. And he didn't tell me. I didn't even notice until one day. You can just see that there's a little slight colour variation between, because one's old and it's sun bleached and the other one's brand new. And I noticed it one day, and I just said to him, "What's the story on this lens cover?" And he just told me then, you know. And I was just like, well, I probably wouldn't have noticed, you know, like other than I just saw it in the dark. One was a bit different colour, you know. I just thought, well, maybe someone else has replaced it somewhere along the line. but he took a bath on the job, and he didn't tell me, and I actually gave him the money. I just said, no, you know, you look after me enough, I'll wear that. I gave him the money, and he was really like, no, I broke it, and I was like, no, you look after me, I'll sort it out. Anyway, I know that he's given me that $50 back because he's been discounting jobs to me, so he's given it back to me again. So what do? I love the guy. He's a good bloke. Right, so we've got footage of me fixing the indicator. We haven't got footage of the broken mirrors, unfortunately. But you kind of saw it there because the wiring harnesses were all pushed up inside. You know, you saw me fiddling with the wiring harnesses. They were all pushed up, and the horn button, when I pushed on the harness, the horn button popped straight out again. So I had to push it in properly this time and seat the harness properly and make sure it was out of the road of all the other bits in there. And it's now routed correctly across the other side, and it's not in the road of any of the bolts and stuff that you need to get to if you take those mirrors off. But my real gripe with the bike at the moment, it's running beautiful, other than two things. There's an issue, it's got a little wobble somewhere. When you get up to speed, there's a bit of a front, you feel it through the handlebars. And I think that's just that the front tyre needs to be worn round, because there's a bit of a, you know, these ones going on, up and downs. So I think it's either that either the front wheel could be cocked a bit, or it could be just a little bit stupid. So he's going to go back up to Brad's. I'll pay him to line the bike up correctly, make sure nothing's cocked. I'll give him a bit of money for servicing the bike again, and we'll just to make sure that the bike's got everything it needs to run true. And I want to get back onto these bulbs. I want to do that change. Get those filament bulbs out, because they do blow. They blow quite regularly, and I have to buy them. I didn't realise they're not a car bulb. They're actually the little tiny bulb. I have to, if I'm going to replace filaments, I'll replace them with filaments. But I want to put those LEDs in here and get them working. So I want to make that happen. I'm just a little worried about the old wiring. That's the only thing that worries me. And if I can see good current there, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to figure out what I need to do to get those bulbs to work. You know, one day I'm going to pull Zoomie completely down and fix him proper. I've got so much stuff for him that's sitting in this bag over here. This is Zoomie's bag, and I've got bits and bobs. I've got a brand new dashboard in there. I've got all sorts of bits and bobs for him, and I've been fiddling around converting the dashboard from the plastic cover thing that it is into an actual circuit board that I can bolt to the back of the dash with real wires in it, instead of bits of copper and bits of plastic which melt and break and get brittle and stop working, and when they get wet they blow bulbs. I don't like that design. It was pretty, I mean, it probably was cutting edge back in the day, but it's 20 years old, and it's brittle, and you've got to be ever so careful handling it. And in here too, I think, is the clock that I need to get back out and do something with. Have a quick look in here, because I know, see, this is what I'm talking about. That's the plastic thing. See, it's a bit of plastic with copper in it, and the copper on plastic gets brittle over time, and over time it blows the bulbs and whatever it does. These are LEDs too, so LED bulbs. I've got all these butt screws for him, you know, like with the clips for the fairings, and they get mounted into the fiberglass, and there's a whole bunch on Zoomie that have broken off, but the fairings are still hanging in there. So I haven't changed any of that out, and I really should. Rear brake shoes. They didn't need changing in the end. We looked at them, they were brand new. So someone had already changed them out, but I've got a spare pair there. I've got all this shroud, this fiberglass shroud for redoing wires, heat shielding, protecting up all these wires. There's a whole bunch of it here, you know, and this is high grade, heat resistant stuff to stop your wires, like if they get hot and whatnot. You've got some protection against the exhaust pipes and things like that. And they're made automotive compliant for race cars. So that's all different sizes of that shroud. I'm just looking for the clock. I know it's in here somewhere. Well, it's here somewhere. Somewhere being the operative word. I've got so much stuff in this that I've been working on. Little fob. I don't know where that came from. I've got no idea. It's a little. It's for the cameras. The camera I showed you. Ah, that's what it is. That is a camera. It looks like a key ring, but it's actually that's a camera. That's another camera. It's exactly what that is. That's actually, it's got a USB port on the side, see? I don't know if you can see that port, and that's a camera. So that should be over there with that. I don't know what that is doing loose in the bag, but it was. And then, if that wasn't enough in the way of cameras, I've got this little beauty here. With instructions. That's the instructions for that. But I've got a camera here that I know I've plugged in somewhere along the line and it worked. Yeah, here it is. That's just a camera. Now you can put that on the end of a stick, and that'll be like you can put that down in the engine bays and things, and you can look at it on your RCA jacks. I've got these RCA jacks for it. I've even got a mic. So that's a built-in camera mic setup. Don't ask me what that's doing in there. There's a USB on that. That USB is for the hidden camera. That's for this thing over here that we just put in that bag over there. I'll put all that in a plastic bag. I've got a plastic bag there. I've got a big plastic bag there. I'll put all that in that plastic bag, and that way it stays together. I think it's probably started in that and it just all fell out. What I want to do with that is I want to make it all one unit, like integrated in the bike somewhere. And I'll figure that out one day and make it happen. Here's the other bulbs. I've got these bulbs here. And these ones. They're the wrong sort. So they don't actually work in that. They work in something else. I think they're parking lights for one of the newer bikes. Now I know all this stuff here coming out of the old clock. I'm not sure how that all works, but it somehow works with the clock, so that's part of the clock job. There's a spare dash I told you about. Got a cover floating around somewhere. See that one there come off the back of this one here. I've already copied all the wiring diagram and everything. I've got all the connectors and things I need to make it all work. Don't know what this is. Bit of wire. That's come off something. That was a plug into something on the bike. Don't ask me what, but I've obviously cut it away, gotten rid of it. I might just clip that back on real quick. So down maybe. I just want it over there just to protect it a bit. But you can see I've got everything I need to make the clock work again. So I'm going to do that one day. All this stuff here, all this RCA stuff, this was for working this other camera. I've got a camera here, and that all came in that. And when you plug it all in, it works on your computer and everything. So you just plug it into your computer and you get an RCA jack. And I need that. That's the connector I need to wire up the 2-pin connector for the clock. So I need those. I'm going to put those away. I'm going to keep that and that out. And I've just wasted 13 minutes on buggerising around, I suppose. Rightio, so we'll put all this away. We'll find that clock and we might do some work on Zoom. Don't know where the clock went to. It's floating around somewhere. Might be very far away. What have we got in there? Oh look, more cameras. So that was an Arduino based jobby. That's a camera. That's just the camera. Now, all this camera work stuff should have been all together. Put it away now. That's all cameras. Whole big bag of hidden little micro cams. They got microphones on those ones, so you can get full video. I'd love to be able to get the people that bang into the bike and then drive off or take off on you. I had a guy hit it with a car. He's been hit 5 times, like in car parks, when you're not around, and that's when it hurts. Because people aren't honest, you know, like if I leave it up in the windscreen, oh, sorry, I hit the bike, you know, get in touch with me. It'd be different, but they don't. They don't leave a note. There's no honour. No honesty. Right. So now we're going to shoot some more footage of me fixing up Zoomie's clock and fixing up the indicators to see whether we can get those LED bulbs in them. So that's leading into the next part of Project Zoomie. So we might make that part 2 because this has already dragged on long enough. So I want to thank you for tuning in. We've got a bit of a project on Zoomie to move on with. We're going to fix the clock and we're going to try to get the indicators to work. So I want you to make good decisions and do good things. Keep swinging. Look, whatever it is you're into, if it's a good and worthy thing, you know, just keep at it. It'll come up. You know, like you might be struggling or whatever. You can't give up on it. You got to just keep swinging at it and just keep going. And you just don't give up on it. And if you don't give up, you can't lose if you don't give up. It's an old saying. It doesn't matter. Like if you thought it was a sprint and it's a marathon, well, it's a marathon. Just keep going. And things have a way of working out. You know, they just do. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys at the next video.